How to improve your listening skills. Elara felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. Another English podcast, another wave of incomprehensible words washing over her. She strained, trying to grasp phrases, but they morphed into a frustrating blur. Her dream of fluent communication seemed perpetually out of reach, shadowed by constant listening failures. This daily struggle chipped away at her enthusiasm, making every learning session feel like an uphill battle against an invisible wall of sound. "Why can't I understand?" she'd often lament, headphones still clinging to her ears. Native speakers sounded like they were speaking at lightning speed, merging words into an undecipherable stream. She'd re-listen, rewind, and re-listen again, yet comprehension remained elusive. This listening barrier was the primary obstacle, making all other aspects of English feel insurmountable and disheartening. It was a constant source of frustration. Then came the speaking part, a terrifying prospect. Every attempt felt riddled with errors. Grammar slipped, vocabulary vanished, and pronunciation twisted into unrecognizable sounds. Elara knew she made mistakes, but the sheer volume was overwhelming. She worried constantly about sounding foolish or being misunderstood by others. Her confidence plummeted with each stammered sentence. "Why do I always make mistakes?" This question echoed relentlessly in her mind. It wasn't just occasional slips. It felt like a fundamental flaw. She believed a flawless performance was expected, a common misconception. This pressure to be perfect stifled her progress, preventing natural experimentation. She didn't realize errors were crucial data points for learning and growth. The constant stream of errors bred deep discouragement. Sometimes a dark thought crept in. Maybe I'm just not cut out for learning English. She saw others speaking effortlessly, seemingly without error, and compared herself harshly. This self-doubt was a powerful impediment, making her question the entire endeavor. It eroded her motivation slowly but surely. There were days she genuinely considered abandoning English entirely. "Why bother?" she'd whisper, tracing forgotten vocabulary lists. The effort felt monumental, the rewards distant. She pondered whether the benefits outweighed the frustration. This moment of despair was a common hurdle for many learners facing prolonged difficulty and feeling stuck in a rut. Yet, something deep inside refused to surrender. A quiet defiance sparked. She remembered why she started. Connection, new opportunities, cultural immersion. Giving up meant closing doors she desperately wanted to open. This flicker of determination was the first step towards transforming her approach. It urged her to seek new strategies. Elara realized her current way of learning English wasn't working. It was too passive, too focused on perfection. She needed a fundamental shift in perspective and methodology. The traditional textbook approach had its limits. She needed something more dynamic and engaging. This insight was the critical turning point in her long, arduous journey. She started researching how to improve your listening skills and how to improve your English with renewed vigor. Online forums, YouTube channels, and language blogs became her new textbooks. She devoured advice from polyglots and successful learners. This proactive search for solutions was a significant departure from her previous passive attitude. The first revelation concerned listening. It wasn't just about hearing, but understanding context, intonation, and rhythm. She learned about active listening strategies. It wasn't about catching every single word, but grasping the main idea and key details. This epiphany shifted her focus from word-by-word transcription to holistic comprehension, a less stressful approach. Elara began with graded materials, listening to podcasts for learners first. She actively transcribed short segments, then compared them. She watched English shows with English subtitles, gradually transitioning to no subtitles. Shadowing became a new exercise, mimicking intonation and speed. This systematic practice built her auditory comprehension gradually. She exposed herself to diverse accents, moving beyond standard American or British English. Australian, Irish, Indian accents all became part of her daily listening diet. This broadened her understanding of variations in pronunciation and rhythm. It prepared her for real-world interactions, where a multitude of voices exists. The biggest mental hurdle, why I always make mistakes, started to crumble. She read about the interlanguage concept, realizing errors were natural stepping stones. Every mistake wasn't a failure, but a feedback mechanism, showing her where to focus. This changed her relationship with errors from dread to discovery. Instead of avoiding mistakes, she began to embrace them. She started a mistake journal, noting recurring errors in grammar or pronunciation. This made the invisible visible, turning vague frustration into actionable insights. It transformed her perception of error from shameful blunders to valuable learning data. When someone corrected her, she stopped feeling embarrassed. Instead, she viewed it as a helpful collaboration. She'd repeat the correct phrase, internalizing it immediately. This shift in reaction was profound, turning awkward moments into effective learning opportunities. It accelerated her progress significantly. How to take first step for talking. This became her next focus. The fear of speaking was immense. She started small, talking to herself in front of a mirror, describing daily activities. Even just vocalizing thoughts in English, no matter how simple, was a monumental beginning. She narrated her morning routine. I am brushing my teeth. This is toothpaste. The water is cold. These mundane sentences built muscle memory and reduced the mental block. It was a safe, judgment-free space to experiment with sounds and sentence structures, gaining fluency. Next, she memorized simple conversational phrases. How are you? I'm good, thanks. What about you? These small building blocks allowed her to participate, even minimally. Having prepared responses reduced anxiety, making initial interactions less daunting. They provided an immediate entry point into dialogue. Elara then sought out language exchange partners online. She found someone patient and encouraging. Their first conversations were halting, filled with pauses and corrections. But the sheer act of engaging with a real person was exhilarating, a crucial step beyond solitary practice. How make confidence in speaking was no longer a mystery. Confidence wasn't something you waited for. You built it through consistent action. Each small conversation, each successful exchange, added a brick to her confidence wall. It was an iterative process, not a sudden revelation. She practiced small talk relentlessly, commenting on the weather, asking about weekends, sharing simple opinions. These seemingly trivial interactions were fundamental for fluency. They trained her brain to access English quickly and spontaneously. This mastery of everyday conversation was empowering. Online English learning communities became her new playground. She joined voice chats, participated in discussions, and even dared to lead a few. The shared goal among learners fostered a supportive environment. It normalized mistakes and celebrated every tiny victory. The initial shyness was still there, a whisper of doubt, but she learned to push past it. She reminded herself that everyone starts somewhere. The desire to communicate outweighed the fear of imperfection. This mental fortitude was key to her continuous improvement. Learning words transformed from rote memorization to contextual acquisition. She stopped just listing words. Instead, she focused on understanding words in sentences, paragraphs, and real-life usage. This deeper approach made vocabulary stick much better. Flashcard apps with spaced repetition became her allies. But she always included example sentences, not just definitions. This contextual learning made the words more meaningful and memorable. She connected new words to existing knowledge. She started reading English books, watching movies, and listening to music specifically to encounter new words in natural settings. She didn't pause for every unknown word. Instead, she tried to infer meaning from context. This immersive strategy accelerated her vocabulary growth significantly. How to speak with people evolved from a daunting task into a rewarding experience. It wasn't just about correct grammar, it was about connecting. She learned to listen actively to others, ask follow-up questions, and express genuine interest. Her focus shifted from speaking perfectly to communicating effectively. She realized people cared more about understanding her message than judging her grammar. This realization was incredibly liberating, allowing her to relax and express herself more naturally. She started practicing storytelling in English, sharing anecdotes about her day, her culture, or her hobbies. This made conversations more engaging and personal. It also forced her to think creatively and spontaneously in English. Elara expanded her conversational topics, moving beyond basic pleasantries. She discussed current events, explored abstract ideas, and even debated politely. This diversification challenged her vocabulary and grammatical structures, pushing her boundaries. The day she understood an entire native speaker conversation without subtitles was monumental. A burst of joy, a feeling of accomplishment unlike any other. Her improved listening skills opened up a new world of content and connections. Her confidence wasn't something she forced. It grew organically from these small victories. Each successful interaction, each understood joke, each fluent sentence added to her self-assurance. It was a tangible, measurable progress. The earlier question, why you should not learn English, now seemed absurd. The answer was clear: for connection, for global opportunities, for personal growth. English wasn't just a language, it was a bridge to a wider world. She found herself engaging with international colleagues, understanding foreign news, and even planning a trip abroad with newfound ease. English unlocked doors she never knew existed. It was an investment that yielded incredible returns. Elara understood that learning English was a lifelong journey, not a destination. There would always be new words, new phrases, and new accents to encounter. The process itself became enjoyable, a constant exploration. She now viewed learning English not as a chore, but as an exciting adventure. Each day offered new challenges and discoveries. This positive mindset fueled her continued dedication and enthusiasm. It transformed her entire experience. Sometimes, she even found herself offering advice to other struggling learners. She shared her journey, emphasizing the importance of mindset and consistent practice. Her experience became a source of inspiration for others. Consistency, she realized, was the unsung hero. Short, regular bursts of practice yielded far better results than infrequent, long sessions. Daily engagement, even for just 15 minutes, added up powerfully over time. The joy in learning came not from avoiding mistakes, but from celebrating progress. Every small improvement, every new word understood, every fluent sentence became a cause for celebration. This positive reinforcement motivated her. She realized how to improve your English went beyond grammar rules and vocabulary lists. It was about developing cultural understanding, active listening, and the courage to express oneself despite imperfections. It was holistic. Active engagement was paramount, not just passively consuming content, but interacting with it. Pausing, repeating, questioning, summarizing. This active approach supercharged her comprehension and retention across all skills. Elara learned to set realistic, achievable goals. Instead of aiming for perfect fluency overnight, she focused on mastering specific phrases or understanding a particular podcast episode. Small wins sustained her motivation. She stopped trying to sound like a native speaker and embraced her own unique accent and way of speaking. Authenticity became more important than artificial perfection. This acceptance freed her from unnecessary pressure. Ultimately, how to speak with people was about sharing ideas, emotions, and laughter. English was the vehicle, but human connection was the destination. This realization transformed her entire approach to language use. She made friends from various countries, effortlessly bridging cultural gaps through English. These connections enriched her life immeasurably, proving the immense value of her perseverance. It was a testament to her journey. Elara's journey from fear-ridden beginner to confident communicator was a testament to resilience. The initial dread of speaking had transformed into a joyful freedom of expression. Her transformation was truly remarkable. The question, why I always make mistakes, no longer haunted her. Mistakes were simply part of the beautiful, messy process of learning. They were proof of effort, not failure. This acceptance brought peace. The lesson about how to take first step for talking resonated deeply. Starting small, with just a few words, then sentences, then conversations, was the only way forward. Grand leaps weren't necessary. Words, once abstract symbols, now held power and meaning. How to learn words became about bringing them alive through usage, context, and connection to her world. They were tools for thought and expression. Confidence in speaking didn't magically appear. How make confidence in speaking was solved by simply speaking, often imperfectly, but always pushing forward. Action generated the very confidence she sought. Elara still learned daily, encountered new challenges, and made occasional errors. But now, they were part of the exciting adventure, not debilitating setbacks. Her way of learning English was now sustainable and joyful. She embraced the entire learning process, appreciating its ups and downs. The initial struggles now seemed like distant memories, valuable lessons learned. Her attitude towards learning English had fundamentally shifted forever. Her advice to others, immerse yourself, practice relentlessly, embrace mistakes, and most importantly, speak. Don't wait for perfection. The journey itself is the reward, filled with growth and unexpected joys. English, she realized, was more than just vocabulary and grammar. It was a universal tool for understanding and being understood. It opened hearts and minds, proving its undeniable value in a connected world. Elara's life was transformed, not just by her fluency, but by the resilience, patience, and courage she cultivated. Her English journey was a metaphor for overcoming any challenge. She was truly fluent now,